Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
In southeastern Ohio sits the city named after the famed center of Greek enlightenment, Athens. It was here that European settlers founded their city in the late 1700s. Staying true to its namesake, the city became an area of learning and knowledge with the establishment of Ohio University, the first institution of higher learning within the Northwestern Territories. Today, on the high ground to the south of town, the building development known as the Ridges includes a number of spaces for research and offices. But within the newly constructed buildings still sits the High Victorian facade of the Athens Lunatic Asylum. This lavishly designed medical facility was meant to be on the cutting edge of treating those with mental disorders. Unfortunately, many of the techniques utilized by healthcare professionals in the early attempts at treating neurological disorders would often leave patients in a condition worse off than when they had been admitted. The grounds of the hospital are also filled with 2,000 graves of patients who passed on within its walls that are marked solely by numbers. With these conditions, it's not hard to see why Athens Lunatic Asylum has had numerous reports of supernatural happenings. This case file joined the theorists as they performed the lobotomy lambada with the supernatural symphony in the Athens Lunatic Asylum.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing Case File 202, Athens Lunatic Asylum. I'm Braden.
I'm Zoe.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
This was once again the Patreon fan pick. And Dan told us not to tell you. You fucking blew it again with your picks. No, I'm kidding.
Listen, there's a disclaimer, though. There's a disclaimer. This fucking sucks. It's your fault.
No,
it's coming back on us.
No conversation like that happens.
If you don't like this one, it's on you. This isn't our fault.
Blame yourself and then blame fucking Dan because he puts the options in there. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're not sure about what this actually is, it is the Ron Pond Patreon fan pick. Every month at the $10 tier, we drop 3 choices at the beginning of the month. We drop 3 choices into the Patreon Thunderdome, and we have those at the Ron Pond tier and above vote on their choice of case file. And they're all 3 great choices.
Yeah.
Every single one.
I think we used to have 4 choices, but you guys were so bad at picking, we had to limit it to 3 to better our odds. I mean, it's probably going to go down to 1 pick here pretty quick.
What you don't know is every vote that you put on this Ron Pond fan pick, it actually starts a virtual simulation, and these topics actually do battle to the death in a computer.
It's more like we take like 3 like rhino beetles and we kind of throw them in a thing and they go at it.
Shake them up.
Whichever one comes out. Like, okay.
Still not on its back. Anyways, it's kind of nice to get back to a spooky one. I feel like we haven't done a spooky case file in a while. I was trying to think when our last one was, but between the hiatus, 200, right? A couple UFOs.
My entire memory was purged during the 200.
Yeah.
The previous 200 were completely wiped clean.
Yeah.
It's a complete reset of my brain.
Yeah. Is drudgery still in there?
I've lost the comprehension of that word. It's
I
gone
had to do a
now.
hard reset after that one.
I had to do a quick search. It was 194 was Waverly Hills, and then 195 Hauntings of Colonial Williamsburg, and that was not that long ago.
I think those were all fan picks, actually. Fans like spooky ghosties, like.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, it's a good one. That's
it's good shit.
We're still waiting on a guaranteed prize for anyone who visits Tim Scullion and gets a picture of me from that episode on that giant ass Samsung Galaxy tablet.
Southern.
But this one, we're taking you to Ohio.
Ohio. Take you to Athens, Ohio, right there. And we're talking about Athens Lunatic Asylum, which opened in 1874 on 141 acres. And it was designed originally to hold about 500 patients. But by the 1950s, it actually expanded the facility to over 78 buildings. So on spreading out over about 1,000 acres. I know we've talked about it before and other case files where we've talked about sanitariums and the such and other asylums that we've had that you have around this period of time. A lot of asylums, you had a proliferation of asylums throughout the United States and North America. And then you kind of had a period where they started to become like overcrowded and understaffed and led to these abhorrent conditions, which tend to or seem to produce quite a bit of paranormal activity, according to some, ghostology experts, I suppose, paranormal experts.
Dude, this sanitarium's got to be one of the biggest ones. Like at its peak, it was like something like 600,000 square feet.
They say that this asylum is the 13th most haunted place on Earth. Ooh. And I believe in spooky terms, that makes it the most haunted place.
Yes.
Right?
If you're in the top 15, it's just automatically.
No, but if you're number 13 of the spookiest places,
yeah.
Right.
Like you're kind of number one, right? You're like, you're the spookiest.
Secret number one.
It's a slight a nod. Yeah.
With that many, like that big of a place, that's a whole lot of crazy.
A lot of crazy.
A whole lot of fucking spooky shit going on too.
That's true. So the original hospital had its start around 1867, where the Ohio legislature actually appointed a commission to find a site for a new asylum to open in southeastern Ohio. And the buildings they're actually a few of them still stand, and like the central building itself, were designed by Dr. Thomas Story Kirkbride, who is actually a famed 19th century physician and authored an entire book on mental hospital design. His designs are usually recognized for kind of at this point in the 19th century, there was this push for improving the conditions of which asylums, because before this, you had pretty much, you didn't have asylums. They were essentially prisons. Like you took your people who were suffering from mental illnesses and stuff, and you pretty much chained them to a wall in a dark, dank place and kept them in a hole. Like that's where they really kept them.
Considering what like constituted a mental illness back then, that's fucking horrifying. Like this is right after the fucking Civil War. Half these guys have PTSD from war, and they're like, lock him up.
Lock him up.
He's crazy. They fought for their country. Like,
crazy.
this guy's fucking nuts. He's hiding in his blankets and smoking darts. Like, what are we gonna do with him?
This one guy seems like he's got a little anxiety. Chain him up.
This one guy's masturbating. Stick him in there.
Leech him.
So there was this push towards the end of the 19th century for these large facilities to be built where they would emphasize the use of like open spaces and a lot more sunlight and natural light within these places. And
like, honestly, let's say it. Let's say what it is. A lot more creepier. And the place
to be honest with you, though, like I was reading that too, and they said that they wanted open spaces for sunlight, and he wanted room for recreation and exercise. And like, let's not pretend like those two things even today can cure mental illness, right? Therapy,
yep,
and medical or medicinal regimes, pharmaceuticals, that type of shit. But that kind of stuff goes a long way. Like this was compared to the fucking barbaric shit they did. Other than this, like this was, I'm like, this is pretty good. You're on a good start here, and then we're gonna get left field.
This was definitely like a huge moment in the like a huge marker in the improvement of the treatment of mental health issues.
Going from dungeons to sunlight, man.
Yeah, essentially.
Dude, these buildings are not like, they're works of art also. Like the sheer, like the actual architecture and just like how they're built. You look at them, they're like, man, this is they sunk some money into some of these places.
Yeah, it's amazing beautiful architecture, and it's just like, it's like these Victorian towering buildings with a lot of like molding on them and stuff. Like, yeah, no, there's no grotesques on this on this building.
It's like they intentionally designed these old ass places. They're like, we got to make sure this place is scary as humanly possible in like 200 years.
Yeah. Right?
just possible.
Well, as soon as we shut this place down, it needs to be haunted. So they're like,
let's
plan.
We
need to make this place as spooky as possible once the lights go off.
We're actually gonna paint with orphan's blood. We're gonna use people's skin as fucking wallpaper. We just gotta make sure this place is fucked up.
It's good planning.
And they're like, make sure the wallpaper peels everywhere.
Yeah,
for lit on.
Wow. Every floorboard creaks.
Yeah, we gotta sell ghost tours in about 75 years. So let's plan ahead.
Got some of those automatic closing doors. We need those fucking things.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure they didn't go that far. But the thing about the mental health facilities is that where they would bury those who died while in their care. So burials soon started after the institution's opening, and you would have deceased patients who would end up, going, their bodies would go unclaimed by their families, unfortunately, and they would have to be buried there on the property itself. So until 1943, the burials were actually just headed by stones with numbers. They only had the names recorded in the facility's ledgers itself.
Like a single ledger.
Yeah.
Listen, that's real. Like at Riverview in fucking Coquitlam.
Yep.
That's where you park when you work at the ambulance station there, is by the unmarked fucking graveyard.
Are they marked with just numbers as well? Or just
little plaques. That's it. Like with no names, nothing like that. Just little, the numbers might have rubbed off now. Cause like,
weathering and stuff.
Quick little peek, but it's fucking weird, man.
That is weird.
How hard is it to throw up a name? Like, come on, make one up if you don't know it.
They're on a budget. They're on a budget. They don't have. They can't pay the
those headstones are pricey, man.
Yeah,
I guess
stonemasons. They fucking charge a hefty fortune to carve your name in a piece of rock.
Hey, stones forever, man. Okay. And only one intact register exists today, which contains about 1,700 names of the over 2,000 burials. So there's still 300 something names that are probably unrecorded on there.
So a lot of these people too, like they're just like abandoned people. Like they couldn't contact their family members for burials. So like, I guess we'll just throw them back here in the field.
Right. Or they wards of the state or something, or they're moved from another. I like a lot of these people like were suffering from mental illness. Like Andrew said, like a lot of them were being kept in prisons or in jails across the state. So they were essentially just moved there from these conditions and kind of put there. So no telling how long they had been there.
This is also the kind of place where you possibly discard unwanted family members and probably hope to never talk to them again.
Dude, and like this is the thing where it's like this kind of shit still happens. Like there's people in our system, like I have a couple friends that deal with some murderers and stuff in various systems in Canada, and some are like criminally insane. And when they meet these people and they go through trials, they don't have family members come because people don't know how to contact their family.
Right.
So like whether their family finds out that they've done something bad like this and are going to jail, they never know. They just never know. And then these people are like batshit crazy. Like it still happens today.
And it's up to them.
Sorry,
like
not batshit crazy, mentally ill.
Yeah, they can reach, like they'd be the ones that have to reach out to their family because you're an adult. The courts are gonna be like, well, we better tell your mom and dad.
Yeah,
we better get them on the phone. Like
your next of kin got to know that you killed some guy. They're like, okay.
All right, let's be sensitive here about mental health.
It's not batshit crazy.
You do your best
mentally
fucking Jabba the Hutt impression,
and then you followed up. Yeah, exactly.
Come on,
that's real though. From a friend of a friend,
it's true. It does happen.
That's I think he'd tell me that's a spot on impression.
It's fucking authentic.
There
Authentic.
There's someone out there like that. Yes, probably.
So while you did have some burials that were a result of natural causes within the facility itself, unfortunately those with mental illnesses, severely shortened lifespans, things like that. Some of the burials, or a lot of them, could actually be attributed to a number of the actual draconian treatments which had been performed at this facility. And while we talk about how this was a big step forward, the design of the buildings itself, some of the treatments that went down.
Let's take
steps
400
forward,
steps backwards.
2 steps back.
Well, 200 steps.
Bananas.
We got to start with everybody's favorite draconian method of treating mental illness. Because we know, obviously, when somebody's mentally ill, what is the first thing that you want to do to these people? What's the first thing that your head goes to?
Inflict pain and suffering upon them.
Fucking crack the skull, baby. Come on,
Yeah.
That's where the demons are coming from.
Get to the brain. Let them out. Let
Right?
the demons
Yeah.
out.
So we'll touch on the lobotomy. So originally, lobotomy involved drilling 2 small holes in either side of the forehead and severing the connecting tissue around the frontal lobes, in the hopes that to dull the symptoms of the mental illness. So when you sever those connections in the frontal lobe is where all the complex processing in your brain takes place, right? Like the decision making, not like your critical thinking, not the passive shit like heartbeat, breathing, that type of shit, right?
Right.
So it's the frontal lobe is basically one of the main factors where we separate from animals.
Right.
That's
And
the
that's the
human
part of
part.
the brain that pretty much the frontal lobe keeps developing until like your 30s, right? I'm pretty sure. Like
25, 30, yeah.
Talking about developmental kind of stuff like that. It's like when I think like, I'm not exactly sure when it starts taking shape, but like even in education, they talk about the development of that frontal cortex and being like, that's where all the adult stuff comes from. That's where your reasoning, your critical thinking, all of that stuff.
You're not a true adult.
No,
You're
totally.
at least 25. Really?
Well, that's why they call in the question trying some of these fucking like 18, 19-year-olds as adults. You're like, are they able, like, were they fully cognizant of what they fucking did? Or was this just a giant baby?
Yep.
Right?
Child still.
Like, I mean, we got 4 giant babies here and
Yes.
we're in our 30s.
And we're
So,
over 30. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so they developed the lobotomy, and now due to this mass popularity of this fucking treatment. Now, I'm not sure why it was so popular, because it maybe had a 50% success rate, if you can call turning your patient into a vegetable a success.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it would curb some of these symptoms, but it would basically turn you into a fucking zombie.
Yeah, I almost say in terms of like with the speed of which it developed popularity, I would say it almost is like it went viral. Like to use today's terms,
I
like
would-
it would
I
be
agree
like
with that.
it went viral. Like this is the new thing. Like this is the new treatment. This is
And
that's
everyone
gonna
was
work.
doing it. Everyone was
totally.
doing it. And then all of a sudden, Dr. Walter Friedman in his kitchen one day goes, I think I can do this faster and more efficiently. As he's fucking jamming needles into a fucking orange in his kitchen, he's going, we can do it. We can do it faster with less resources.
Yeah. So what Braden's touching on is the transorbital lobotomy. So like obviously trans means through, orbital means eye. And like this, we're talking fucking a matter of minutes, like 10 minutes to do this procedure. It was more
No
cost effective.
anesthesia.
Well, it's more cost effective and fucking easier than getting a tooth pulled.
That's
Like, think about that.
Was it easier than getting a
And-
tooth pulled?
Well, yeah, it took less than fucking 10 minutes. All
Easier
you needed
for
was
who?
Well, here's the thing too, though. But you are a little bit like when you say no anesthesia, that's not entirely correct. It was mostly Freeman and in North America that they went with this technique without anesthesia. But what they would do is they would do electroshock therapy to induce some type of seizure. And then following the seizure, you go into what's called a postictal period, right? Where your kind of brain's resetting. It's like that quick little reboot where you're completely out of it, trying to recollect everything. And that's when they would do it. So, it was faster, you'd save money. But, we're going to touch on this Dr. Martin Freeman a little bit, because this dude was a fucking nutcase. So he was
I mean,
so
he was
far,
an actual doctor though. Like he
was a
doesn't
doctor.
matter.
But,
There
like,
are shitty doctors, and he was one of them.
Shitty doctors. I'm just saying, like, he was a doctor
For the time period,
Doesn't
he was
matter.
a medical doctor.
So is Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's a bad guy.
What is Dr.
You know,
Doom's PhD in?
You could like verge on like serial killer.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, but like here's perfect examples. Like Freeman developed a reckless enthusiasm for the operation, driving several thousand miles across the country to carry out demonstrations at asylums and hospitals. Listen, this was the equivalent of $200 today per operation for a doctor.
That's it.
That's not that much money.
Yeah.
Okay. So apparently he was an instinctive showman. He sometimes ice picked both eye sockets simultaneously, one in each hand.
Yeah.
He had a buccaneering disregard for the usual medical formalities. He chewed gum while he operated and displayed impatience with what he called all the germ crap, routinely failing to sterilize his hands or wear rubber gloves. Despite a 14% fatality rate, Freeman performed 3,439 lobotomies in his lifetime. 200 of those were at the Athens Insane Asylum, 24 of them in one day.
That's good. That's good money.
And one of them, a 4-year-old child.
Oh my God.
So wait,
why? You might ask. Okay, go ahead, Zell. Sorry.
Clarification on this method. So you take a pick and you go like beside the eye or something, and then you
next to your nose,
like right in the tear duct there, and then there's a small membrane behind your eye, and that's like what your brain is right there. Boom.
Exactly, and you fucking
just hammer
around a little bit, get a little.
So
scramble.
So you take a mallet. Is that what you're saying? Like you take a little mallet with a pick,
just
and you got to break through
punch?
the eye socket.
Like,
oh my God.
And like, so the difference in this, like, so originally what they would do with lobotomies is they would remove small pieces of the frontal lobe in hopes to like, I don't know exactly what, like remove some of the diseased tissue.
Demons.
Well, they
know,
not
or they
anyone
would,
knew. They're like, let's hope.
or they would inject, they'd inject fluid into the, like alcohol into the white matter of your brain. But now with this new transorbital, they basically would fucking stick something in there and just give it a quick little flick and swish.
Just hope they get the right nerves.
Little
Wingardium
Wingardium Leviosa of the brain there. Just a little quick one and fucking give them a quick scramble. And here's some of the things like this. And now once transorbital lobotomies started becoming popular, they were cost effective, they were fast. Here's some of the things they were advertised to help with. Tension, apprehension, anxiety, depression, insomnia, suicidal ideations, delusions, hallucinations, crying spells, melancholia, obsession, panic attacks, disorientation, nervous indigestion.
Digestion.
So basically
everything Pepto-Bismol solves now.
Well, no, but basically these are all pretty much symptoms of MDD. Like major depressive disorder.
Right.
I imagine there's a commercial where it's Dr. Lobotomy and like 5 chicks singing that into the Pepto-Bismol theme.
Dr. Lobotomus.
Yeah, as he's dancing with his ice picks, he's pretending to poke himself in the eyes.
He's singing a song.
He's like flipping
Number one
around,
good
like,
price.
behind his back and stuff, like doing like bat tricks with them, like spinning
Wacky
around,
inflatable arm guy. Fucking number one good price only today. Get your
Yeah,
lobotomies.
tension, anxiety, upset stomach, lobotomy.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty fucking wild. And like the craziest part about this is they were still doing lobotomies until the 60s in North America. And apparently in France, they did them till the fucking 80s. And in extreme cases, they still do them here.
Yeah.
They still do lobotomies.
For what reason now?
I don't know, man, because there's people that are still on death row and they're not getting lobotomies. So give me a good
actually, do
reason
they?
for this shit.
I've heard. Do they do like if you had like a really bad brain swell? Do they drill a hole to try and relieve pressure? Is that like what they do?
Yeah, but they're not flipping around in your frontal lobe, stirring shit up in hopes it's going to fucking cure
they're
the
not.
demons.
Not trying to blend up the front of your brain, the human part of your brain, to try and cure you.
No, Billy Bob that went into the emergency room with indigestion's not getting a fucking lobotomy, boys. Yeah.
This was back
That's
when
not a thing.
I think was this the beginnings of like what they said was like psychosurgery. This was still like the study of the brain was still relatively new.
Right.
What was that word? Nihilism.
What?
No, it's the special type of some type of nihilist. I got to look it up, but they developed that from the psychosurgery.
And yeah, so it's just that these kinds of treatments went on in Athens. Like it wasn't, besides just the beautiful outside, like the stuff was going on within the facility
treatment
and stuff. So like we said, like electroshock therapy wasn't just used for, the precursor or the pregame for lobotomies. It was also used as seen as a valid treatment of some of the mental illnesses at the time. So you have this large amount of psychological and physical pain going on within this building, which we often see produces paranormal results. But not only do you have these treatments coming on are going on inside the facility itself. In 1977, Athens Asylum made the newspapers about when they housed the famous or infamous multiple personality killer Billy Milligan, who was one of the first people to utilize, not him himself, but his defense team, his legal defense team. And they prepared a argument to have him diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. And so the doctors that diagnosed him with it said that he had suffered this from early childhood. And he was the first person to be diagnosed with multiple personality disorder and then actually use the defense and be acquitted for a major crime for that reason.
So now this Billy Milligan is either a fucking criminal genius or he's literally having like DID, dissociative identity disorder, because there's like couple of his victims testified that while they were attacked, he was speaking in a fucking German accent.
Is it Jack?
Must be. It's the only fucking. But like he's using a German accent. The arresting officer said that while they picked him up, he was speaking in tongues. It sounded like they were talking to different people at all times and shit like that. So, like,
speaking in tongues, you say, "Wow, interesting."
Now, how common
Full
is
circle.
how common is like multiple personality disorder now? Is that a thing?
I don't.
Well, they call it dissociative identity disorder,
Right.
But it is very common. You see it in a lot of people who have struggled with intense trauma in the past.
Like
That's usually what kind of brings it on, that or drug abuse.
It's like they kind of like
That's where we see it.
partition their brain to kind of get away from that kind of stuff. Like something really bad happens.
They disassociate.
Yeah.
Right? They disassociate from themselves and then
Become someone
here
else.
comes these, you'd say, characters.
Right.
He didn't just spend time in Athens, but he also had a stint in a series of state-run mental hospitals where he was reported having 10 different personalities, and even later in life, 14 more personalities were said to have been discovered.
Wow.
And then he ended up dying of cancer in a nursing home in Columbus, Ohio on December 12th in 2014 at 59.
Good.
Yeah. I'm like,
Sorry, but
Sorry,
Well,
but
crazy or not, that guy did some awful things.
yes.
he did.
So now we get to the one part of this is the very much part that's probably cemented the Athens Lunatic Asylum into paranormal lore.
Right.
Is the tale of the patient named Margaret Schilling, who disappeared she was being treated at the asylum for her mental illness. And then she ended up disappearing on December 1st, 1978. Now, I believe when she was being treated, she was a very like non-responsive, like not very, I wasn't sure of the exact diagnosis of what she was being treated of, but it seemed like she wasn't very she was like non-verbal. I'm pretty sure she wasn't lucid at all or anything like that. But so making her disappearing was seen as very strange because she was not the kind of person I think to become like wandering off.
Right.
Eventually she was found January 12th, 1979, 42 days later, but they found her body, and which was discovered by a maintenance worker in a locked, long abandoned ward, which had once been used for patients with infectious illnesses.
Like TB or something, they would just stick them in there and
pop them in there, quarantine them inside that ward itself. Now, tests after her death seemed to show that she died of heart failure. Wasn't it something weird about that too? Like, wasn't she naked with all her clothes like neatly folded beside her?
yeah.
Yes, this is another interesting part of the case, or the part of her disappearance, that she was found completely naked with her clothes, and it's commented on being neatly folded next to her body. So she had taken off her clothes, totally taken off her clothes, folded them herself, and put them next to her. Is that's how it appeared, anyways?
But she was said to die from heart failure.
Heart failure.
Die of heart failure.
Which you would think
How
would
old was
be.
she? How old was she? Sorry.
I don't have the name. I don't have her exact age on the thing. She wasn't too old. She wasn't that old. Now, probably the most interesting and most disturbing part of the case, not just the finding her naked somewhere in there, but the most disturbing thing is that there seems to have developed a permanent stain where her body was laying when they found her. There's pictures of it. Like there's a lot of pictures of it and documentation of this stain that was left on the floor. And you can clearly see an imprint or an outline of her hair and her body still there on the floor.
To be honest, like this is like a huge point of this case. People look at this stain and they're like, holy shit. But like I leave that stain everywhere I sit.
Slug trails.
Slug trail, brain slug trail. It's
Dude,
true.
this guy, you go to the gym with him and there's ectoplasm fucking slug trails on everything he sits on.
Dude, we had Pod Week here. What was that in May? And the chair, it's right here.
Yeah, probably had to throw it out.
It's just it is a black piece of like fake leather chair, but there's a ass print in it still, and never recovered.
Yeah, and the face of El Diablo.
Was there a slug trail leading up to the plug
There
toilet?
may or may not have been a slug trail right through my house, actually, now that you mention it.
Jesus, this guy's fucking Slimer.
It is like haunting that this stain is still there to this day. They've tried to remove it. It will not
like
go.
I'm gonna say, 42 days worth of decomposition. It's gonna leave some fucking significant shit behind.
That aside, people who have, in addition to this, the asylum has long since been shut down. It's been, it hasn't been an asylum for a very long time. And pretty much the only thing at this point that seems to be saving it is the fact that people they started to organize like haunted tours of the building because a lot of people were reporting strange activity within the asylum. People reported hearing the usual, noises, strange noises at night inside the building. You had doors opening and closing, and even people saying that they saw there's a window in the same room where Margaret Schilling had died, and people reported seeing an outline or a definite person, a woman in white, in that window.
Dude, here's the stain. If you're not watching the live stream, you can find this. This one's from historicmysteries.com, but there's a stain. It's disgusting.
I didn't leave that at your house.
This is in the studio right now. Can't get rid of it. Destroyed my laminate flooring.
It's it's haunting because you can see like the impression of
like a body. Like
a body
that,
and then
like leaked out. Like a bunch of fluid or something.
Yeah, that's what's disturbing to me is that you can clearly see the shape of a woman, the arms, and then you can see like where stuff had just continually
settled.
It's
nasty.
It's hard to look at.
Yeah, I mean, your body's full of like different types of acids and stuff, so I could see it staining. But like they say, they try and clean it, and they can never really get rid of it. So like.
Yeah, the gym staff says the same thing about the fucking leg extension machine. Right?
It sits on it.
Braden's not allowed there anymore.
It just discolors the leather anytime he sits anywhere.
I find it hard to believe though, like I think of something more than likely would probably a nefarious happen to her because I'm like, one, how is this fucking patient getting into this wing? She strips herself naked and then conveniently is like, oh, my failed heart. Right. I'm like,
well, it'd be super interesting to find out how old she is and stuff because like that's heart failure does not something that happens to young people. Mind you, people died a little bit earlier back then, but also what kind of treatments was she?
She was 53.
Yeah. So that's pretty young. Still, it's not unheard of, but it's young. And plus, you got to think, like, what kind of treatments was she receiving at this fucking place?
I mean, she looks pretty, from the pictures of, like, the ones before her death, she looks pretty rough.
Haunting.
Yeah, it's definitely like if you
Here
look
she
at
is.
her, you'd be like,
This is-
that's a person.
this is Margaret.
who-
Did she have?
This is Margaret Schilling.
Did she have any? Did she have any swelling or anything like that?
That's insane.
That's a lot of shit. No, this is Margaret Schilling.
Well, you're not wrong. It is kind
There
of.
she is.
Technically,
That's
oh, yeah.
her.
Oh shit!
That's like her time from her time in the
Yeah.
in the hospital.
Sunken
Her
cheeks.
hands
like-
kind of look swollen. I don't know.
It's
She's not.
That's a
a
tell.
looking
But
woman.
what kind of heart failure where you're like, okay, well, like that is quite the coincidence. What I speculate may have happened is that she was assaulted or sexually assaulted by someone, and the trauma of the event was maybe call it like the stress of that of being attacked gave her heart failure, and then whoever did that to her left her and folded her clothes neatly. Like that's where my brain goes to, because I'm like, it just seems so fucking weird.
Well, here's the thing though. Like that's dying of heart failure is not like it's not like dying of a heart attack.
Right.
It's not like an acute fucking like sudden onset. Oh fuck! Like
Just-
and just you know you just die. It basically you're like your heart's a pump.
Just
and it
stops.
slowly stops being able to pump properly due to fucking atrophy or whatever, and then you start backing up fluid, and that's usually how you die of heart failure. So maybe she got lost and she's on heart failure medications. Maybe she's on fucking
Right.
diuretics or something like that, or because she's gone for 42 days, she couldn't get her meds. I don't know.
Right,
But
right.
It's weird. It's fucking weird. Doesn't make sense, especially with her. Like, I don't know. It's like that paradoxical hypothermia.
Maybe
you know, folding up your clothes, getting
maybe
naked. and, like,
something took her life, and not in the normal way, paranormal wise. Maybe she saw something in there while she was in there.
Sucked the life force right out of her.
Yeah,
yeah, maybe.
I mean, her
It's-
heart. I mean, when she was locked in, I mean, she's already in there. She's looking pretty. At that point, I can't imagine. She doesn't look like a person with exactly a very strong.
I know
heart.
exactly what happened. Is she was getting paranormally activated. The fucking ghost slammed the doors and locked her in there, and fucking Margaret got all crazy. And she's like, "You think I'm in here with you? You're locked in here with me!" And fucking went nuts, beat the shit out of the ghost, and ended up having a fucking heart failure.
And
And died.
yeah,
That's what it is. It stressed her heart too much.
I get on board with that.
Yeah, I did.
Why
it.
is she taking
looked
her
like she's
clothes
crazy.
down? Yeah, that's right. You scrap. When you're
Everybody
naked,
knows you
right.
fight naked.
Yeah, it's true. You
Everybody
fight ghosts
knows that.
naked. That's right. You got to intimidate them somehow.
Yeah, if you want to intimidate someone, the first thing you do in a fight is strip completely naked. That's the
Right,
very
so if you're
first thing
fighting
you do.
ghosts, like you got to get naked. I mean,
Especially a ghost.
yeah,
It's the fucking first rule of Ghost Fight Club. Get naked.
Get
get
naked.
naked. I follow that reasoning.
Like we cracked it, boys.
Oh,
So,
So this go ahead, Dan.
well, I was saying that this is the while you have Athens Lunatic Asylum that is markedly haunted, and people have reported seeing it, and there's still tours that claim that this. I think it's changed its name since
a few
since
times.
it was
I
the
think.
Athens Asylum. Actually, multiple times it's changed
I mean,
its
they,
name.
they dropped the lunatic.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
surprising.
that's definitely gone. I think it's called the Ridges now. As what it
Yeah,
is.
it's called the Ridges. And you can
And
look it up. I mean, there's tons of YouTube videos of people going and doing ghost tours, claiming to see apparitions, doors closing, footsteps, you name it. People, it's a creepy place. And, I don't want to go there. I did some research on it and I was like,
nope.
not for me.
Nope, I'm good. It's no Colonial Williamsburg.
Now, the interesting thing about researching for this case is that while our fans our Patreon fans who chose this probably thought we were just talking about the Athens Lunatic Asylum, that is not the only spooky ghosty place in Athens, Ohio. There is a much wider paranormal
Well, one sec, we
field.
got some interference here.
Kevin Nash? Oh, Space News?
Space News live from Kevin Nash's bathroom.
This is okay. There's new cracks on the International Space Stations that are stoking fears of fissures spreading. Russian cosmonauts have discovered cracks on the Zarya module of the International Space Station and are concerned that these may lead to more pressure fissures and compromise the entire module. Right now, they're just superficial, but by all reports, it's bad. And it suggests that more of these are going to spread over time. So, I feel like the International Space Station of late has been plagued with kind of, it's getting old. We've talked about it tons of times. She getting old.
So, I mean, if you can only imagine like the technology, it's probably a durability thing. I mean, a lot of people don't think about like what the harshness of the environment of outer space is. And it's not even like really outer space, but I mean, just the wear and tear, the amount of radiation and things. And even though they kind of plan for these things when they build these and the materials that they use in constructing these things, you can imagine like still, it's probably not, it's almost impossible to test these materials on Earth for adequate
in the same conditions. Like you get one like tiny, like almost like a rice sized piece of space debris going at whatever tens of thousands of kilometers an hour, crashes into that thing.
Yeah. Specks of dust just traveling at these tremendous speeds could cause these things. But it just sitting out there in these, the way that it has to sit in the orbit and all these things. I mean, I'm sure it's taking its toll at this point.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got.
That was super random. Super random. Yeah, that's going to trigger a beer break here. We're going to be right back.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
So the paranormal spookiness, not only isolated to Athens Lunatic Asylum. Like I said, there is a wide paranormal net cast or seemingly cast over the city of Athens itself, and even some of the other like linking counties. One of the other most haunted places that's on the list is Wilson Hall, which is a dormitory located on the campus of Ohio University. Go Bobcats. And now Wilson Hall itself is a relatively new building. It was erected in 1965. And one of the popular theories about, there's a couple of like these paranormal like oddities and probably like attributions to the hall itself. And one of them is that one of the most popular ones is that the hall is built upon or in the center of a giant pentagram that is drawn between 5 surrounding cemeteries on the map.
Shit,
5 cemeteries around this place?
Right. Well, not specifically the cemeteries like in the Athens Lunatic Asylum, but the cemeteries like kind of like outside and around the city. And if you pull up a map, if you go onto Google Maps, I did this. If you go onto Google Maps and you type in cemeteries, go to Athens, Ohio, and you type in like nearby and you put cemeteries, there is a kind of like correlation there. You could probably draw a pretty near shape of a number of cemeteries. It looks very close, which would match very closely to a description of a pentagram, which can both, according to whichever ideology that you subscribe to, it can either be protection against evil or it can be a symbol of summoning of evil. So that's one of the explanations as to why this place is haunted. Now, not only that, but there are events that are associated with Wilson Hall that would kind of also prove that perhaps the pentagram is the evil pentagram, the evil type, I guess. So They say that
Isn't a pentagram like a Wiccan thing, and it's supposed to like represent strength or something? In like the
it's a bunch of things.
In the good the good way, it's supposed to represent strength. In the bad way, it's supposed to summon all portals to hell.
Right. There. I mean, the pentagram is an ages old.
Pretending like you don't
symbol.
know. Zell. Come on, don't try that shit with us.
Convenient, yeah.
As if.
The pentagram is an ages old symbol, and it goes back, millennia. So it's like you could find probably any number of significance can be attributed to the symbol itself. So, but one of them here is what people tend to believe is that this is perhaps the evil type of pentagram, not an upside down one and an upright one. Like I guess the north, pointing to the north and be all the way to the top, and 2 points in the south. So now people say that the paranormal trouble in Wilson Hall started sometime not too long after its construction. They said somewhere in the 1970s. It is generally accepted that a student lost their life in one of the rooms there. And I think it's 423.
428?
428?
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was 428.
Is probably is it 248?
There's a 4.
There's a 4 in there.
But this like, as much as we can't remember the number,
428.
This is legit real because they board off this room. Like they do not rent it to students anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They don't let anyone live in it.
How practical is that? People die and shit all the time. You can't just be, oh, this house is fucked, burn it.
It's not just the one death. You have the one student who died in the 1970s, but then you might be able to write one off and be like, okay, we can still put students in this room, no big deal. It's just one person perhaps. But sometime later, a second student who is living in the dorm, it's usually described in the kind of the lore of Wilson Hall that it was a female student. And those who claim to know the woman said that she was a big fan of the occult, that she studied, symbols and esoteric readings and the like, and that she apparently may have been using the energy of the room, which would probably have a negative cast to it after the traumatic event that had occurred there years earlier. She was using the room's energy to speak with the dead.
Yeah, and not only like the room's energy, yes, but here's a picture of what they say is the pentagram. And the little star, if you're not watching the live stream, it's actually right in the center of all these graveyards. Can you see that?
Oh, shit.
And what
that's the fucking pentagram from the map?
It's huge. Like, it's a very large pentagram.
Yeah, but like you said, you're like, you could kind of see it. I can see a fucking pentagram perfectly.
I said if you
this
type
place
it
is
into
haunted.
Google Maps and for yourself, like if you were like, okay, I didn't know anything about the pentagram and I typed it in and I looked at these like the shape and the formation of the cemeteries, the placement of the cemeteries on the map looks very much like a pentagram. Like
that's 5 points of paranormal activation right there.
And they say that
nothing to do with
it's because it's very close to the very center of the pentagram. And they say kind of like in that occult culture like that, the center of the pentagram is like, kind of like a ley line. Like that's where all the power converges. So if you were to say like these graveyards are like the points and you form a pentagram around them, right in the center is Ohio University, room fucking, what do we say, 248? 428. And that's where this girl who's into the occult, she's opening all portals to hell, like I usually tell people. And in this situation, though, it didn't work out for her.
Well, and the thing is, it's not like they were like, hey, she died, we opened the room, there was all this stuff, let's board it up. They didn't do that. What happened is they were having students live in this room afterwards that were so spooked by objects being thrown in the room, the scratching, the clawing, that there were so many complaints from students not wanting to be in that room because of these issues that they finally just had to say, all right, well,
that's enough.
We've got to board it up.
Yeah, one of the more disturbing reports is that students said or reported seeing demonic looking faces that would appear in the reflective surfaces of the room and also within the woodwork of the door itself. Like there would be a face that looked very, or it could, be interpreted to resemble a devil or a demon. Some students said, they saw this, and when they would go to report it or bring somebody else to corroborate their story, like it would be gone. Like it would be, they saw something there. And, there's other reports of other paranormal activity going on within there. Like some people said they saw the shining blood dripping from the ceiling and the walls. And that's what they are. And so many students who lived within this room were reporting these things that they had to board it up because it just became, nobody wanted to live in that room.
What I want to know is what did this chick major in? Like, when did she come up with this plan? Did she go through high school being like, I got to get into this arts program at fucking Ohio because I need to summon these fucking demons in this exact same room? Put herself through fucking college to go to student loan, did all this bullshit just so she could get in this room and worship fucking Satan and open up a fucking portal to hell?
Well,
yes.
To be honest,
it's amazing. That's the fucking dedication, man.
I mean, this is such an interesting case for me because I'm like, the fact that a university is going to give up that money that they would get from the dormitories to just be like, yeah, it's not worth the headache, and we're just going to board it up, lends this a lot of credence to me because I'm like, they don't give a fuck. Like,
because they're smart,
right?
They're smart. They're smart people. They're academics. They're like, this room's paranormally activated. It's got to be fucking toast.
Yep.
Get rid of it.
Yep.
Right, because it's like this is that, like, I'm sure it's a lot of money for kids to stay in the dormitories there, it is to stay anywhere, and like to lose 2 rooms, like, because it's probably 2 in a room, so to lose 2 incomes from that, I'm like, that's a substantial amount. Like, and they don't care. They don't, like, it's not for them. It's like, it's just a money thing, right? Like, it's cheap student housing. That's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. Like, it's built cheap and operated cheap at a high expense.
But it brings in a lot of profit. Yeah.
So for me,
even just think about that though. Like, you're going to be like, you get in there and you're, what do you call the fucking guy that lives on your floor that like makes
the RA or whatever?
Advisor?
Yeah.
He's resident advisor. Like, so what hey man, like, what's up with 248? Like, what's with the fucking boards and shit?
420, yeah.
Like, is he going to tell you like, oh, it's under construction, like it's all good, don't chill? Or like, no, that place is fucking paranormally activated. Stay the fuck away from it. How many people are going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to go to school here, man. I'm going to fucking
no candles,
I'm going to Ohio State,
no incense.
OHIO, baby. Go Buckeyes. Fuck this place.
No, that's Ohio State University is Buckeyes.
That's what I just said. University. I just said I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm going to fucking Ohio State.
Here,
go Buckeyes. OHIO.
What's that, Braden?
Keep up.
Well, it just, to me, it's very strange because I'm like, you could have done a lot of things. You could have renovated, made new room numbers, and then no one would have known. You could have, just had the room off limits for a year or 2 and then just put it back in circulation like once. You know what I mean? There's ways, but it's like still to this day boarded up.
Do we have any pictures of the boarded up room? Do we have anything cool like that?
There's a hilarious video on YouTube.
You can find it on YouTube
where the guy keeps going, spooky.
A lot of people say,
Is it Dan?
No, it's not me.
It's spooky. A lot of people say in the internet lore that like 428 is like built above, like this part of the buildings above another graveyard, like the center of the pentagram. But then I'm like, well, why 4?
A double graveyard.
Well, you have 3 floors below. You'll have a 328 and a 228 and a 128. Why are those ones not haunted? Why does it have to be the 4th floor? So for me,
because the people died in that one.
14.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, if this was the haunted one, why not the ones before? If it's like a geographic haunting point, like the center of the pentagram, why is it just on the 4th floor?
She opened the door in that room. Like, it just happened.
That's what
I guess it would be a pin right through.
That's what I mean, though. It's not like I don't think there's a graveyard underneath, because that's just internet speculation. But I think it's just because they're in the center, and if she would have done it on floor 1, 2, or 3, it would have made no difference. It just happened to be that she's on the 4th floor when she, summoned all portals to hell.
It should open the dimension to hell.
All of them.
Fucking
wide open.
Scary, man.
Now, this case is probably, it's one of those fun ones where I went in genuinely interested about the Athens Lunatic Asylum. And then it's like, okay, then I found out even more about, okay, there's Wilson Hall, which is now on Ohio University's campus, which is apparently considered one of the most haunted campuses in the United States.
The center of a pentagram.
But it goes even deeper, where it's like, at first we kind of thought like, okay, maybe the Athens Lunatic Asylum is the source of the paranormal activity that's going on with this. Like, you have this seemingly wide field of paranormal energy or something affecting numerous buildings, because Wilson Hall is not the only one that's reported to be haunted. There's a couple other places within the university. So I thought about talking about those at first, and you could kind of be like that. But so I went back further in the history of the Athens and the surrounding areas, and I found a very interesting story, a very early story, much earlier than the Lunatic Asylum, than Wilson Hall, any of those ones. And it's the family. It is the story of the Coons family spirit room. So the Coons family, Koons, were a family that lived about 15 minutes to the north of Ohio University campus, so where Wilson Hall is located. And in the mid 1800s, probably around 1850 or 1855, the Coons family built a spirit room.
Dope.
Which they
Drop acid in.
Yep.
Which Jonathan Coons, the head of the family, said that he had been in contact with spirits who had instructed him to build this spirit room in order to conduct seances, to speak with the dead.
This is basically how Zell got Lady Zell convinced to build the studio. This could be the same story. You just replaced Jonathan Coons with Zell.
And then we played
And his
Ouija board
wife
in
with
here
Lady
a few
Zell.
times, and the rest is history. Yes.
So Jonathan Coons is described as being him and the rest of his family were described as self-educated farmers, but they're also well-versed in
So not
politics
educated,
and philosophy.
Not educated at all. I think that's what that means.
Buddy, educated in the ways of farming,
Yeah.
planting fucking corn and fucking
Fucking
carrots and all that cool
cows and
shit.
crabs.
But they were considered
Beets.
smarter than your average,
Farmer?
your frontier, frontier farmsman.
Says
at that
them.
time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm smarter than him.
And
And he's smarter than me.
it said in 1852, Coons came across the newspaper descriptions of the Fox family wrappings. And have we talked about the Fox family wrappings? Like, we might have talked about that at some point.
They're like the famous,
the
famous group of
That's like the two girls, I think.
spiritual
Traveling
mediums,
rappers.
right?
Right. And they would do they do performances, seances, and they would get spirits to rap out numbers and things like that, and melodies and stuff like that.
We thought, like, what year was this?
This was in the
18-something.
1850s.
Yeah.
Buddy, we thought fucking Grandmaster Flash invented rap. Like, come on, how long ago was this? This is awesome. Rapping ghosts?
I mean, rappings
Come on
as in like knocking it, like rap.
Like,
at
yo,
your chamber
rap,
door.
rap.
No, rapping
Yo,
at your
baby,
chamber
yo,
door,
baby, yo.
like
Oh,
the
okay.
Raven quoth nevermore, like that kind of rapping. Well, I
Still
guess
rap.
that is also technically rapping.
Kind of rap. Rhyming.
Hip hop.
So now Coons went out and attended several seances throughout Ohio, because at this time, if you go back, you see that at this time in the mid 1800s, you had this kind of revival or this kind of development of the popularization of spiritualism within North America and Europe. You have this rise of like the idea that the dead can be contacted and communicated with. There was a whole kind of new, a new age spiritualism movement that was becoming popular in the United States and Europe. So he had these kinds of things. So you had like pretty much like everybody and their mom were doing seances, performing, were investigating mediums, people communicating with the dead and these kinds of things. So after attending several of these seances, when he returned home, he discovered that he was also a medium, that he could also communicate with the dead.
Yeah.
And also
So convenient.
his oldest also discovered that his son named
Cletus.
not he discovered that his son Nahum
Nachum.
were also endowed with psychic abilities. So pretty much it was perhaps an inherited family trait where they were all
Psychic family.
psychics.
I like
They
that.
just self-educated
psychic mediums.
themselves on how to do it. I seen it done, and now I can do it.
Planting carrots and talking to ghosts.
So after communicating and communing with the spirits, apparently they revealed to him instructions to build a log cabin that was 12 by 14 feet, had 3 shuttered windows, and a single door with a 7-foot high ceiling. And this
Hey,
was
Zell, what's the dimensions on the studio there?
It's 11 by 15 by 9 foot 10, actually. Not quite the same.
You had to outdo him, eh?
So not only did the spirits tell him how to construct the dimensions of this spirit room, which would be the best conductor of spiritual energy, but they also requested that he equip this spirit room with a number of musical instruments: a tenor drum, a bass drum, 2 fiddles, a guitar, an accordion, a trumpet, a tin horn, a T-bell, a triangle, and of course, no band is complete without the tambourine.
This was just a few days
Who's
ago.
going to play these instruments?
Oh, who's going to play these instruments?
Yeah, who's going to play the instruments?
After they completed the construction and they equipped they equipped their spirit room with the requested number of musical instruments.
The wife is so upset. yeah, we have to buy a tambourine. We got to buy fiddles and all sorts of instruments. And she probably said the same thing. Who the fuck's going to play all these things?
Well, apparently the seances that they performed at within this spirit room and became advertised in local newspapers, and actually people ended up like trekking, from all around
tens of miles.
I mean, back then that's a lot. It's tens of hundreds of miles. People would go out to this.
Are the ghosts going to play these instruments?
Make a pilgrimage of some type to go see the Coons family spirit room because of the lively descriptions of what would happen during these seances. So a lot of them, they said, would usually start with Coons, who would sit at a table with his wife and son beside him and would start to play a lively tune on his fiddle. And within moments, all of the other instruments would join in, keeping perfect time, although they were being played by no one.
Oh my God.
What?
Are you serious?
That's fucking awesome.
This is the coolest shit ever. All I can picture in my head right now is just like, as he starts playing, just ghosts descend from the ceiling, and one guy's got a tambourine, and they're like, "This is the Coons Family Ghost Club Band."
I'm glad.
He's fucking hitting tambourines and shit. Like, that'd be so good.
Dude, I pictured Billy Bob and the Hillbilly Bear Band playing at the Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Time Theater, except it's just ghosts. No one's playing the same.
Whole lot of fucking hand slapping and knee fucking driving there.
Yeah, I pictured it in my head. I was like, man, this would be great for a Dungeons and Dragons campaign where you have a family of necromancers that aren't really interested in raising the dead to conquer a kingdom or to unlock the secrets of undeath. They just want to have a family jam band and just rock out. And and then you would have like spirits and stuff, but they couldn't play any instruments except percussion instruments because they can't breathe. So it's like, oh, you're going to play. It's like, I was good at playing the trumpet in my earlier life. Well, you can't breathe now. So you're playing the fucking tenor drum.
Dude, so what you're telling me is I can just get rid of all the band.
You are
Fix your drummer problem.
You could call it luckiest monkey.
Or maybe
I can get rid of all the members of the band. I can
only
summon
the ones that. I guess guitars are kind of string instruments. Yeah, it's
Strings?
kind of a percussion.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, but Zell's got Zell's the axe man. He doesn't.
I go for rhythm.
Oh my God! It explains why you play the guitar if ghosts can play it. It all makes sense now.
So I don't need a singer. We don't have any horns or brass. So all I need is a couple of ghosts. I don't have to pay them.
No,
because they're dead. So they have no need for money.
Right.
So this is.
I mean, you have no soul to sell. So I mean, you can't do this.
So this is the.
What would you have to bargain with?
This is the future of the band because right now we can't play shows anyway. But if I could play solo with a ghost band, I'd probably do all right.
Yeah. So just take necromancy.
Zeltron and the ghosts.
Zeltron and the ghosts. There we go. Zeltron and the specters. That's the new band.
Yeah.
Zeltron ectoplasm. Like
Perfect. I'm in. This is perfect for me.
So apparently the musical portion of the evening was just the precursor, because that would be followed by an appearance of what people described as spirit hands, and not spirit fingers, spirit hands. that were described. They were either luminous themselves, or they are illuminated by phosphorized sheets of paper that had been prepared by coons, and they would be like, they would write out messages in handwriting, and perfect handwriting and things like this. People would see these hands writing out messages and answering questions and things like that while they were after they performed these amazing musical feats at some point.
Putting on a hell of a fucking show.
No kidding.
Like, this guy's fucking working for this money. Like, I'm impressed.
And they would go on to perform for a long time. Like, the Coons family seance room, spirit room, was in operation for quite a long time. And then they eventually, at some point, like they just stopped doing it. Some people attribute it to another family that built their own spirit room.
Yeah, their neighbors
across the way.
We're also self-educated, and I went into his spirit room once. Now I know how
Honey,
to do
they've
it.
got a spirit room. I want a spirit room too. Like,
Well, they built a deluxe spirit room, actually. A little bit of a more advanced.
I mean, for most accounts, I think it was that both of the performances, or the seances, and the things that would go on were extremely similar between the two families. But it was just the fact that the other one was a little bit closer to like the main township of Athens, so people would end up going to that one as opposed to trekking out a little bit farther to the Coons one, just drawing off enough business for the Coons to be like, well, maybe we don't, the effort's not there.
What you're saying, Dan, what you're saying is the Coons family ghost band was lured to a more convenient ghost band. They just moved to a more convenient location.
Well, I don't think the spiritual energy faded. I think the ghosts are still there. It's just the people were going to a different place.
Probably went to a different fucking record label.
He's sitting in the dinner room, and all the fucking instruments start going, and he's like, "Not today. I'm just not in the mood." And they all like, wah, wah.
Here's a physical representation of what the ghost jam room might look like.
Yes, that is. I believe that is
amazing.
A illustration from around that time of what it may have looked like.
What's with this dude floating up here?
Is he a ghost, or is he just one of
Is
the
he the
people
ghost,
that
or is he
turns
being
around?
controlled by a ghost?
I mean, people were saying that these were very lively performance seances, like these things that happened, that there was an abundance of spiritual energy going out there, and a lot of feats and things going on here, which I always think is a pretty interesting thing. So this is the theory kind of goes, and I came across one of these, is that perhaps that the Coons family, in their communication with the dead, their opening of the portal into the lands of death, is perhaps what was a trigger, or something that they didn't close. They left a planchette on the Ouija board, and that spiritual energy that was released, pretty regularly at that point, could have perhaps spread out along those ley lines into Athens itself. And so this is why you have this all of these paranormal locations, or places that seem to be charged with spiritual energy, and people reporting seeing all these ghosts and paranormal events occurring within the town, could have perhaps originated here at the Coons family spirit house.
Perhaps not far away. You got a fucking ghost band. I'm in. Sold. That's the best part of the story for me.
Yeah, it was a nice little historical nugget hidden in here from the Athens Lunatic Asylum choice. Like, I thought that was pretty interesting, because I went back and I was like, okay, why would this place be haunted? And a lot of these places that are haunted, especially like around the 1800s and stuff, you get these stories kind of rising up of like, oh, it's an Indian burial ground, which is something that's thrown around a lot. And but I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I kind of went back in the history to see if there had actually been Native American burial grounds, like in the city itself. There's not really any, I don't think there's really any evidence to support like a concentrated settlement of long-term settlements of Native Americans within the area. Although Native Americans did live in some of the areas around Athens, I don't think there's any really evidence to support that. But the Coons family thing popped up, and then that sounded way more interesting.
Well, it's a wild story for sure.
Wild story.
My final thoughts on the 3, like looking at the Athens one, I mean, we've gone into that. That has the recipe of, everything you need to have a place paranormally activated. Terrifying location, a lot of trauma through a building, mixed mental illness, and people getting lobotomies left and right. It's not a good place. So
nope.
I believe that I believe that place is haunted. If you go there, you're going to have a good chance of seeing something or sensing something. The school, again, I just can't. I really lean Wilson Hall. The fact that they don't have those rooms available now, they just have it boarded up because they don't want students in it because of all the issues. To me, I'm like, that seems so weird because they must have so many fucking issues with people complaining when that room was open that they're like, well, they jam packed. There's never empty rooms. Like they fill those things. They want to, they're there to make the maximum amount of profit off you. These post-secondary schools. So to me, that they would even consider this of like, hey, we're going to have 2 less students living here, which means potentially 2 less students paying tuition. I'm like, it must be on some level serious or like a serious nuisance to them. So the fact that these 2 people did die there, and the rumors and the lore around it, and like, we saw the picture on the live stream, it's a fucking pentagram.
Yep.
Mix that in with the Coons family spirit room, which, I was spooky, getting freaked out. And then it's like I take a trip to Scandia to see the old fucking bear band play.
Eight band.
That one's an interesting one because I'm like, that one seemed like the story itself I fucking love because it's hilarious. But it feels like a sideshow that someone's been like, hey, I could do this. I could do this same fucking thing. I could do the same show that they're doing. And then they just got popular, like how he was making these instruments and stuff play by themselves.
Awesome.
I don't know. But that one strikes me as I'm like, it has a lot of elements where I raise my eyebrows and it feels hoaxy, where I lean to believe that it was set up based on the fact that he went and saw something. He's like, guess what? I now talk to ghosts. And he's like, what's his son's name? Jimmy Bob. You can all, because you're my firstborn son, and guess what? You can talk to ghosts too. And he's like, really, Pa? He's like, really. And then they start building this thing. I'm like, it seems like they're trying to monetize like a business model. That's what it seems. So I lean towards the third one being a hoax, but the first 2 being legit spooky places.
I like that. Andrew, what do you think?
I mean, of course, it's a spooky place. It's a previous lunatic asylum. All you got to do is look at the architecture. That place is fucking terrifying.
Yep.
Then again, I'm probably scared of any type of abandoned building or any place with the lights off. So I'm not sure if I'm too credible to talk about this. But I don't know. Like you go into the history of these places again. Like it brings you back to kind of the Waverly Hills Sanitarium. I think this place was generally, intended on helping and doing good for people. I think that was the original point of this place. I think they are really trying to help people, but unfortunately the mental health field was very limited at that time. I don't think they didn't have the education, they didn't have the abilities to treat these people, and they had no idea what the fuck was going on with them. Right. I think maybe a few doctors definitely took liberties. I think they liked doing surgeries and finding new ways to treat people, and I think some of them took advantage of their power. Like Dr. Lobotomist or whatever the fuck his name was.
Dr. Lobotomy?
Dr. Lobotomy, yeah.
But, it's just sad because you look at this and like the only people who didn't benefit from these situations were the patients. The people that were there to get better, didn't benefit. The doctors did, the staff did. Like that, this place was the biggest employer for Athens, Ohio.
Yep.
Right. That city revolved around the fucking lunatic asylum. So,
Dr. Lobotomy's out here doing 2 at a time.
Yeah,
Fucking
double fist and fucking ice picking.
Countdown.
But then we go back to that fucking school. That fucking creepy, man. It's weird that they still have that place boarded up, and I'd like to see a little bit more information on it. I want to make sure it's not just a fucking, it's just a ghost story, and I want to see the door boarded up. I want to see a little bit more evidence than that. I think it's fucking rad though. But
so
I think
they even say, sorry, Andrew, just to interrupt you. They even say that some people see like a demon's face on the outside of the door every now and then.
That's what Dan was saying. Yeah.
Yep.
In the woodwork and stuff like that and any of the reflective surfaces. But as for the fucking Coons Family Ghost Club band,
just awesome.
I don't see anything cheesy about that. That's as real as it fucking gets. I think that's the first one we've talked about that holds some fucking weight, boys. That's fucking scary. Guy's playing banjos by himself, no fingers. Come on now.
Yeah. How are you going to replicate that?
I don't think you can.
I don't think you can.
This isn't Disneyland, boys.
Nope.
This is fucking Ohio.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Braden and Andrew. I think this whole place is like the perfect example of, like, we've talked about it before, as the stone tape theory, as like human suffering can imprint itself in like an analog form on the surroundings. So like on the door of the room, in the floor of the place where that girl died, just like it with so many. We're talking 2,000 deaths plus in this one area. A lot of them probably traumatic. No family around. There's no closure for these spirits who are being, they're trying to go to the next realm or the next plane, whatever you want to call it. They're trying to pass through the veil, So something like a place like this that has that much trauma and that much death, and the graveyards form a pentagram conveniently centered on the university campus. It's a crazy place. And room 428, if the girl's trying to summon stuff here, and that is the center of the pentagram, which it kind of looks like, a lot, like we talk about a lot of time, like human beings who want to experience something, or more, like, you have a higher chance of experiencing that. Like, you're looking for it. So if she's looking to summon something and she's in the perfect spot with all these trapped spirits, embedded in the walls and the floor and the woodwork of this place, that's a recipe for disaster. Even I don't think I'd play Ouija board in this place. I don't think I would. I think this is one of the few places I'd be like, I don't know, maybe not here. Maybe.
Don't think so, Tim.
Don't think so. That's what I think. It's a crazy place. I'd love to go on a ghost tour though. It'd be fun. Dan?
I find it fascinating that the Coons family, who are obviously extremely powerful and effective mediums, did not necessarily use their abilities in some of the way that you see a lot of popular mediums using their power, like their abilities today, where you have some that are work in concert with police. Some work on police investigations. You have people who communicate with lost relatives and things like this. They use their power to summon forth the dead and play instruments. And I think that's pretty awesome.
It's badass.
You have the power over.
With great power comes great responsibility, and that responsibility comes with making fucking bands
to answer the mysteries of the universe. You don't use it to communicate with the dark forces that sit within the immaterium or within the empty spaces within our reality. You didn't use it to that. You used it to play lively, kick-ass music.
Okay.
In your weird little cabin out in the woods, and people trekked from all over to come see it and thought it was pretty rad. And it's like that is pretty awesome. Yeah, I found that story fascinating. And it's just one of those things that I pieces of history that doesn't really get around that much. The Athens Lunatic Asylum, again, we talk about this, that, perhaps you could probably make a case for the psychic imprints that went with the expression of the pain and the suffering that went there, the severing. I mean, he could probably be something like the psychic potential that is locked within the brain of every person somewhere, whether if it's contained with or developed within the frontal cortex and things like this, and you cut it, and then it's like, and then that, just like splitting the atom, you release a ton of psychic energy that perhaps maybe not all of us are sensitive to, and it just somehow creates an imprint there, creating the increasing the potential for paranormal activity to occur is something that could maybe be talked about or discussed in some circles. But that's a possibility, could happen, and that would be a perfect place to do it, just the way that place is designed, and it is pretty spooky.
Spooky as hell.
Spooky.
That was a fun case. That was a cool place, and hopefully one day we can go on a little ghost tour there.
And if you go to that university and you're there, take some pictures in front of the door for us.
Yep, send them in. We'd love that. Or tell your story on Cosmic Channels, one of the two.
Right before we get to Theorite of the Week, I wanted to give a quick shout out to, everyone knows if you're on our Patreon, you can get access to our secret society, which is our Discord server, where we have, tons of channels talking about video games, all sorts of stuff. But recently something interesting has happened on our Discord server. A subgroup of Theorites. I don't even know. There's basically, in our secret society, there is a break-off secret society calling themselves the Alien Theorists Illuminati. And they recently, if you listen to the last Cosmic Channels, organized to have Kevin Nash give your boys a shout out, which was fucking amazing.
While on the toilet, which was even more amazing.
Brown eye.
To hear Kevin Nash say my name.
Wrong.
It brought joy to my heart. So it's a really interesting thing. And so, when I was thinking of Theorite of the Week, I was going, well, we don't really give it to a group. But
they're faceless.
It's interesting. So
they're
if you
anonymous.
I don't even know how, I would
don't even know who they are.
Nope.
We don't know who they are. We don't know how to join. So if you are already on your Discord and you're in the Illuminati, the ATI, which sounds suspiciously like something you don't want to catch.
When you get it, you start leaving slug trails
everywhere.
We tip our hat to you guys, the ATI. Like I said, it's an interesting subgroup of our secret group that we're not even in it.
We have no
Too cool
idea.
for us.
So cool that not even we're in it.
We're not even in it. That was pretty awesome, though. Kevin Nash, Cosmic Channels 3.7.
WWE legend
Can't miss
Kevin
it.
Nash.
Yeah.
Big sexy.
Big sexy. Taking a shit. Fucking
And it
up
wasn't
our
even
names.
fake. It was real Kevin Nash. It wasn't fake Diesel. It was real.
It was
Kevin
really
Nash.
Kevin Nash,
Yeah.
100%.
Fucking cool. Super
That would've
Shredder
been-
himself.
That would have been pretty funny to
If
get
it was
fake Kevin Nash.
fake Diesel.
Fake Diesel.
Diesel.
Anyways, Andrew, who's our
Razor
Theorite of the Week?
This week's Theory of the Week is Guy on a Buffalo.
Guy on a buffalo.
Guy on a Buffalo. Guy had an unreal fucking post on Facebook.
Here it is on the live stream.
I have listened to every episode, but due to my trash internet, I have never watched a live stream or even seen what these dudes look like. Well, looks like Starlink is in my near future. Before I become a regular live attendee and hot, rather lukewarm on the heels of Case File 200, I present to you with my own celebrity lookalikes based on listening to you guys talk. So it's Dan's Professor Frink. I found out Braden's is a dude from Rascal Flats, apparently.
Oh, dope.
What
Who am
hurts the
I?
most is that
I have no idea.
I have no idea who
I have
Sal
no
is.
idea who I am. I don't know what this guy is, but he's pretty awesome.
it's pretty. The skin tone is dead on.
He's got the
He's
skin
just
tone
as
dead
trend.
on.
I'm the fucking just sender guy, right? That's who that is.
Sender Bud.
Yeah, the guy. He's got a fucking sick pair of pit vipers
Pit
on.
Vipers there, yeah.
Mr. Conspiracy is a couple bins of overflowing fucking trash. So, I mean, you said it, not me. And And then Byron's, I don't have it screenshotted, but I remember Byron's picture is just upside down, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's complete.
It's fucking awesome.
We'll make sure to post that on the Facebook group and on Instagram, Twitter, wherever we can. But definitely Facebook group, 100%.
Fucking genius.
Yeah.
That had me laughing for a while.
Guyana Buffalo, number one.
Beauty.
Great name. Great fake name on Facebook. Theory of the week.
That gave us a huge laugh.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. If you're not already, and you want to help support your boys, independent podcasts, and you want to get early access to case files, live stream, all the other goodies, head over to patreon.com/Alien Theorist Podcast, or find the link in the podcast description. I lost this fucking... There it is. This week's newest Patreon supporters. Full year pledge by The Great Caspi. Love it. Miguel Lara. Casey Lambinas. Landon Orr went up to a $25 pledge.
Oh, yeah.
Woo. Ruben Medina goes up to the top tier pledge.
Woo!
Cy Keenan. Ron Pond approved. Viet. Nagunian? Nagunian?
Win. So say it. Win.
Was that Dan? Say it.
Say win. That's how you say it.
Sin? S-Y?
Win. Just win.
Win?
Viet win.
There you go. Brooke Campbell. Megan. Bigsby. Star Boner.
Nice.
Johnny Reckless. And a full year pledge by Meredith. Thank you very much for supporting the show.
Woo! And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies.
See you in after hours.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.